up, y'all? It's your girl Maserati Neesh, and you are tuned into the What Neesh Speaks podcast, where I am bringing you and giving you financial game so that you can understand and obtain financial gain. Let's go. So last week, what did we talk about? We talked about the 5 factors that make up a credit score. We talked about your payment history. We talked about your credit utilization. We talked about the age of your credit and how important that is. We talked about new credit and what that contributes to your credit score. And last and not least, we talked about the mixed use credit, how important it is for you to have some revolving lines of credit and for you to have some installment lines of credit. So right now, what I want to jump into is, okay, now that you know what makes up the credit score, why is your credit score so important? Let's talk about that. So you may say, well, I think my credit score is important because I want to buy a house one day, and from what I hear, I need good credit. Or simply because I just want to go and purchase a car. Well, yes, that is exactly true. America is ran off of what? Credit. So let me ask you this question. Why are we, brown people, why are we the last people in the U.S. to understand exactly what credit is? Why don't we have any education on it? Why aren't we knowledgeable on it? Why isn't it taught in our school systems? Like, why? When you graduate, why is it so much easier? Or let's just rewind. When you go to college, why is it so easy for you to obtain a student loan, but it's super duper hard for you to get a business loan? Like, let's just talk about that right there. Let's just talk about how the banks are in business to make money off of you. Let's just talk about how 70% of the money that you are depositing with the bank goes into their pockets. What does that mean? Only 30% of your deposits are going into a reserved account where it's actually, there. The 70% of that is going out to lend to other people. And what do? They put interest on it. And what does that interest do? That interest brings in money because that is what the banks are making off of your money. So everybody's benefiting from this credit thing but you. So let's talk about how you can leverage it. What's up with that, right? We want to know, how can we get to a bag? So, Neesh going to tell y'all how to get to a bag, right? First things first. It's bigger than you just, buying a car. Yes, we all want to ball out. I don't really want you to ball out until you get your finances in order. It has to make sense. Every single purchase that you make needs to be backed by an asset that's going to generate some sort of revenue coming in for you. Rather if it's rental income, residual, rather if it's you, investing into a company and now you have equity and you may get a payment quarterly, or rather if it's just you investing into your side hustle that's going to generate enough money to be able to pay this expensive car note that you're going to, get. So let's talk about leveraging it in a way that makes sense, that you're using the bank's money to bring in more money, not the bank's using your money to bring in more money. So first things first, we want to make sure that we're developing a banking relationship. So what does that look like? So when I talk about business credit, you are more likely to get approved for a business credit card, business line of credit, and business loan if you have a relationship with that bank. So what is a relationship? A relationship is simply you opening up a checking account. A relationship is you going, and even if you can't get approved right now for a secure card, if you can't get approved right now for unsecured credit card or unsecured line of credit, you go and you establish the relationship by simply doing a secured card or a secured loan. Once you have started to establish that relationship, now you're locked in. You also want to get a checking account. You want to get a savings account. You want to make sure that you're depositing into this account. You want to make sure that the money is being moved around so that the account is active. People don't even know that you get a certain amount of points when you have an active business account or active personal account versus an inactive. So they'll look at it and say, okay, you have an account, but there's no money coming in and out. Or, okay, we see that you have an account. There's money coming in. There's money coming out. There's money coming in. You're depositing in your savings. You have your credit card. You're using it. You're making sure that the payments are on time. You're paying us back, and things are happening. So that's building the relationship that you want, because later the ultimate goal is for you to go back and say, hey, Listen, y'all see that I have a checking account. I manage it well. I deposit my money into the savings account. Things are rolling. I use my credit cards. I'm making my payments on time. Can I have a $50,000 line of credit? So now you take that $50,000 line of credit, and what do you do with it? Well, there's tons of things that you can do with it. Two of the actual business lines of credit that I have are from KeyBank, one of my great banking relationships. I actually know them personally. I have a business banker that I specifically deal with there. And my lines of credit are interest only. So what does that look like? Well, when you have a payment that you're making on a home loan, well, basically any type of payment that you have obtained from the bank or finance company, of course, there's going to be interest on that actual loan amount. So let's say you want to borrow $100,000, right? So the $100,000 is actually what you're borrowing. But once you pay that off over time, because if you're getting a loan, they're going to say, hey, we'll give you this $100,000, but we're requiring you to pay $800 a month, and you're going to pay this $800 a month until you make your last payment and you have a zero balance. So now I'm making these payments, but guess what? They didn't just give me money because they like me and I'm this nice person and I showed that I'm responsible with paying my bills. They want to make money off of me ultimately. So they're going to give me the $100,000, and by the time I pay it back by making those monthly installment payments over a period of time, I done paid back $115,000. So, and that's because there was interest on that actual loan amount that I borrowed. And that interest is going to also determine how much of my payment that I'm making monthly is actually going to the amount that I borrowed. And then how much of that payment is going towards the interest. So the payment that I have on my business lines of credit, which I have two with KeyBank, one is for $45,000. The other one is for $35,000. No. 40, 50. No, I'm sorry. One is for $40,000. One is for $35,000. And it's interest only. So I can literally make that interest payment and not have to pay down my principal. But who wants to do that? Because ultimately, every month I'm only paying interest. I'm not paying down that actual loan amount. So it's good, though, if I plan to invest in like a real estate project. So let's say I know that, I want to do a flip real quick. So I'm going to use that 50 to basically use that 50 as a down payment for my loan that I'm going to do with my private lender. So I'm going to go to the private lender and I'm going to say, hey, I need money to purchase this house, and I also need money to fix this house up. So I'm going to the private lender and I'm telling the private lender I need $150. The private lender actually is only going to give me 90% of that $150. So I have to come up with the remaining balance, or the difference rather. So I go and I get the difference by borrowing it from my business line of credit. Now, although this business line of credit is a revolving account, the business line of credit does not report on my personal credit, which is good because the credit utilization is not going to be impacted. And I told y'all about that in the first episode, how important that personal utilization is to have it below 30%. So now I take this $50,000 line and I use it towards the $150,000 loan. So I need to come up with 10%, which 10% is $15,000. So now I have this $15,000 that I borrowed off my line, and I'm using it to get started with my flip. So now I have the money to bring to the table for closing. And now the hard money lender, or the private lender, is going to give me the $150 to purchase this house and to fix it and to rehab it and to put it back on the market. Now, I borrowed the $150, but the house may be actually worth $225. So now, once I sell this house, I'm going to pay back the private lender the $150. I'm going to pay back my line of credit, and then I walk away with the remaining profit. Now, the interest-only payments are good for those type of situations because it's requiring me to spend the least amount of money out of pocket as possible while I am purchasing the house and doing the rehab. And sometimes a rehab could take 3 to 4 months, depending on how good your crew is or your team is, and how fast they get the ball rolling. So the object is to get the house done as quickly as possible because we don't want to keep paying this monthly payment on this line forever, okay? So we want to get in and get out, pay everybody back, and keep it moving with the bag. And that's how it works. So that's what I mean when I say it's way bigger than you just purchasing a home, which we definitely want you to become a homeowner because I promote that all the time. I would rather you be a homeowner than to be renting and wasting money. At least if you're a homeowner and you're making your mortgage payments, you are gaining equity in your property every single year. So what is that? What is equity? Well, equity, let's look at equity as if it's money. It's a gain. So if you bought your property for 150,000, and the value of that house is 150,000, next year the value might go up to 152,000, and then next year it may go up to 153,000, and next year 156. So your actual property itself is gaining value. So it's bigger than you just having, a car and, getting these credit cards and buying your bags, pocketbooks, ladies. We like the Chanel and all that. It's bigger than that. It's all about leveraging. We got a question? Okay, so we got a question. So let's go.
What's the difference between business line and a business credit card?
Okay, so what is the difference between a business line and a business credit card? So let's be clear. Both of them are revolving accounts. So what is a revolving account? A revolving account is a revolving cycle. It's basically somebody extends to you a line of credit. Let's say you get a $10,000 business credit card from Chase. Chase gives you this $10,000 credit card and you may use it, right? So now when you use it, your credit limit, you're utilizing your credit limit. So you use this line of credit, the $10,000 line of credit, you use $5,000. So how much do you have left on that card? You have $5,000. But then when the billing statement comes, which it comes every 30 days for you to make a payment, you have the option of paying the minimum payment, or you have the option of paying the full balance. So what happens when you pay that $5,000? Now you have $10,000 available again. So that is a continuous revolving cycle. It doesn't close out. It just continuously happens. Every time you use it, you pay it. You use it, you pay it. So that is the same exact way that a revolving line of credit works, rather if it's a personal line or a business line. The benefit of the business line, and I can't stress to you this to you enough, the benefit of the business line is the business line does not report on the personal side. So when you begin to use the business line, it's not going to affect your credit utilization. So the business line, the business revolving line of credit works just like a credit card. If the banks give you a business line for $25,000, let's say you don't want to use the whole $25,000. You only want to use $5,000. Well, we know if you have a $5,000 balance, then what do you have left to use? 20. But you're only going to pay, the monthly payment is going to be on that 5,000 because that's all that you're using. So it's the credit card and the revolving line works the same way. Another thing with the business revolving line of credit, it's actually attached to a checking account. So you actually get checkbooks. So you can write checks off of that line of credit. And whatever you're using, you have to make sure that you have enough to make the minimum payment in 30 days. Or if you're just going to pay the whole thing off, now the funds become available again. So I like to use my lines for quick investments. Quick investments is good because you're continuously able to use that line over and over and over again. As soon as you pay it back, you have a zero balance, it becomes available again. So I like to use my lines for that. So it's similar. Okay. Next question. Good question. So business credit is two types of business credit. So let's start there. One requires you to be a personal guarantor. The other requires you to be a non-personal guarantor. So a lot of people DM me all the time. They like, I want to build business credit, but my personal credit is jacked the hell up. And I'm like, well, if your ultimate goal is to get, business credit cards and business lines and business loans, then you definitely need to work on your personal credit. And for real, as a business owner, if you have good credit and you are only utilizing your business revolving credit, that means that your personal credit will always carry a minimum amount of debt because most of your purchases are going on your business credit cards. So you got to just think about it like this. Would you lend money to somebody who has all of their cards maxed out? Like, we would not do that. And why wouldn't we do that? One, it shows that you're having some financial trouble. If all your shit is maxed out, I'm probably the last one to get paid because you still ain't paid back everybody that you already are paying. So you definitely don't want to max out on your personal credit. So that is the benefit of using the the business credit so that you don't have to utilize your personal credit. So if you are going to build your business credit by obtaining Net 30, and we'll get into this in, my future podcast, but the Net 30 accounts, which are your Home Depot, your Lowe's, your Sam's Club, your Costco's, your Walmart Net 30, and all of those store cards, and also like vendors like Quill, Granger, Uline, some of those guys. So those are considered as Net 30 accounts. Net 30 accounts, you can actually begin to get approved for Net 30 accounts once you have a paydex score, which is your Dun & Bradstreet business credit score. So once you have your paydex score and you have a few of those vendor accounts or those Net 30 accounts that are reporting to Dun & Bradstreet, then at some point, depending on how many of those accounts you have, you build by going from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3 to tier 4. As you go up in the tiers, you have to obtain more and more lines of credit, and the more lines of credit you have reporting to Dun & Bradstreet and the stronger your paydex score, the more likely you are to get approved without being a personal guarantor. But that only applies to the Net 30s, the store cards, which are Net 30s, and the vendor accounts. If you want business lines, loans, credit cards, you're going to have to be the PG. Ain't no way of getting around that shit. And most banks want you to be at least a 680. Next question. I feel like I got so much like stuff in my head. I'm just rolling. Bring it.
What is the best way to build your personal credit?
So the best way to build your personal credit. So let's see. If you don't have any credit at all, then you should start with a secure card. And if you go to my CreditMedics page, CreditMedics101.com, you click the link. No, it's not on that page actually, but it will be because I'm rebranding my website. But if you go to my Instagram, my CreditMedics Instagram, you click the link. It's called the Credit Builder Card. It literally costs $200 for you to get a $200 credit card. So with the secure, anytime anybody tells you that something is secured, just look to be ready to give a security deposit. So the minimum security deposit is $200, and in exchange, we're going to give you a $200 credit card. Now, that $200 credit card, that limit is really, really small, so you only want to use like 10%, which will put you at $20. So you don't want to use more than $20. So you're going to build with that card. We also have more credit builders. We have 2 companies that we're affiliated with that will give you a revolving line of $5,000 each. So just by you obtaining those 3 accounts, I would guarantee you, if your credit profile is clean, meaning you've never really had credit, and you get those three revolving accounts, probably in about 4 months, you're going to begin to see pre-qualification offers in the mail, pre-approval offers in the mail for different credit cards. And then, you can begin to apply for those, and you'll get approved. And you just continuously build. But if you are somebody who has bad credit, you got a whole bunch of people that you done burned. You owe this bank and that bank and this credit card. You got repos and all that. Then your process is going to be a lot longer, because first things first, we need to get you those 3 trade lines so that you can begin to establish good payment history. That payment history is a priority. It makes up 35% of your score. So if you don't have anything that's reporting on your credit that's not, if you don't have anything on your credit that's reporting a good payment history, you need to do that first. So we'll get you those, and then we'll work on getting that derogatory stuff off, those charge off and those collection accounts. And as you see those fall off, your scores go up anywhere between like 5 and 25 points. So, yeah.
How do we work with Neesh?
How do we work with Mozzie? I know. How do we work with me? So you can call my office, which is 215-745-3091, or 215-745-3094. Or you can always hit me up on Instagram at CreditMedics, at Maserati Neesh, MaseratiNeesh. That's my Instagram. And then at CreditMedics, CreditMedics. And we'll definitely take care of you. We're revamping the website, so probably like in another week or 2, you can just go to the website, CreditMedics 101, click the link, schedule an appointment. And we service clients out of state. So we're nationwide. We can help anybody to rebuild and get out of that rut. It's time for us to stop living paycheck to paycheck. Like nobody, you can't have a happy, enjoyable life if you're stressed out all the time about paying bills, or if you got to figure out, should I pay my electric or should I pay my water bill, which is more important. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to live like that. So my primary goal for doing this podcast is to get you out of that rut, to enlighten you, to give you resources, and to help you, get to a bag, because it can happen no matter how bad off your situation is. You deserve to live financially free. Like, you deserve that. You owe that shit to yourself. And it can happen. And some people, situations may be worse off than others, but I'll get you straight. I get you straight. Should you pay collections off? Well, here's the thing. Collections. When you see a collection show up on your credit, basically the original creditor has basically charged off that debt. So if you had a collection with, let's just say, ladies, what do y'all like? I like Neiman's. So let's just say I had a collection with Neiman Marcus. Neiman Marcus is going to come after me for about 4 to 5 months to try to collect that debt. Once they realize it's not going to happen, they're going to write it off as a tax write-off. Once they write it off as a tax write-off, it's a deduction for them when they file their taxes annually. So now they legally have the right to sell it to a third party collection or collector. The third party now owes that debt, and now they come after you, and they may put some interest on top and all that kind of stuff. Most of the time, they don't have the documents that are attached to that account. They don't have the promissory note that's attached to that account. So in order for somebody to say that you owe them, they have to be able to show you that. It has to be validated. So most collection companies don't have that. So you can dispute it. And if you don't know how to dispute it, you can hire credit medics. Now, a lot of people go online and they find these generic dispute letters, and they're trying to get the accounts deleted. But what happens is the credit bureaus actually operate off of a computer system. And when the dispute is entered into the computer system, if it's a letter that has been processed millions of times, thousands of times, it's going to kick back, and they're going to say that this letter is frivolous. So you don't want to do that. So you want to create your own letter, or you can hire, us to do it for you. And if that account gets deleted, then you will see your scores go up anywhere between 5 to 25 points. Now, if you call the collection company, say, listen, I want to make a settlement. If you make a settlement and you pay a debt, nothing's going to happen with your credit scores. Your credit scores will not increase because you decided to go back and pay and settle an old debt, okay? Now, what does happen is the account is zeroed out, so now you don't owe anybody. So now when you're trying to purchase a home, or you're trying to, get some business products, business line of credit, personal or personal loan, personal credit cards, now it's no longer hindering you from getting approved because you don't owe anybody any bad debt. So if you settle, just know that the debt is clear and you're out the clear, but your credit scores are not going to go up. If you dispute it and it gets deleted, know that your scores are going to go up. Or if it's with a collection company, you can simply request a pay for deletion. So you're going to contact that collection company, and you're going to, once you contact them, you're going to say, hey, do you guys offer pay for deletions? And majority of them do, but there still are a lot of collection companies that do not do pay for deletions. So if you know that they don't, you hang up, and then, you have to decide at that point if you want to do a settlement or you just want to dispute it. But if they do a pay for deletion, just know that if the balance is $2,000, you're going to have to give them $2,000. If you give them the $2,000, they're going to remove the account. They're going to reach out to the credit bureaus, tell them to delete it, and your scores are going to go up, and you don't have to worry about that account again.